Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Gosh, we have a really cool show for y'all today. And I've got Bryan Sawyer here of Bigfoots of Michigan and Bigfoots of America here in the studio. And boy, I got to hang out with him. I think it was last Friday, if I'm not, or maybe a couple Fridays ago, whenever that was. We did a show together with the guys from North Carolina Investigates. That was really fun. And I got to talk to him a little bit about Dogman up in Michigan and around the country, some of my research. And today we're going to talk about that and what he knows about Bigfoot and Dogman around there. And he's got some really incredible fairy sightings, you guys. So please hold on to your seats. Oh, and pterodactyls as well. Man, we're going there today, and it's going to be awesome. So you guys buckle up. We're always going down a cool rabbit hole over here on the channel. If you guys would like to follow along with all my shows and everything, please go over to the cryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my archive shows over there, my calendar of events, which does include, by the way, the Full Disclosure Now conference. That's down in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's coming up in about 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And I'll be there July 15th through the 18th. I'm speaking on Friday morning, just in case y'all want to know if you're coming for a day or a couple of days, or even if you're getting the online pass to watch it online. I will be speaking first thing Friday morning to the audience. So y'all come join me over there. Okay. And if you'd like a discount code, that's the discount code right there, 2025 FDNC. Jessica 17. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I hope to see you all over there. And also, speaking of support, I have a Patreon. And thank you to all my Patreon members and to all my channel members. You guys are the best. I really appreciate you guys. And I do have an Etsy shop as well. It's called War Woman Goods. Okay. Well, let's get to our show today, because we've got a lot of really cool cryptid talk to get into today with Bryan Sawyer. And so let's go ahead and introduce Bryan. Bryan is a researcher and the creator and founder of Bigfoots of Michigan, a community-based organization focused on the discovery and protection of Bigfoots and their habitats across North America. He hosts the web TV pilot series and podcast Bigfoots of America, or BOA, okay, BOA, where he interviews Bigfoot eyewitnesses from across America. You guys can find him at bigfootsofmichigan.com and on his YouTube channel, Bigfoots of America /Michigan over there. Please help me welcome to the show, Mr. Bryan Sawyer. Hey, Bryan.
Hey, what's going on, Jessica? Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay.
I sure can. Yeah. Hey, thank you for being here today.
Oh, without a doubt. My pleasure, man. It was great meeting you last week on the NCI show with all those guys. I'm up here in Michigan. I'm newer to the field, been kind of getting deep into it the last 2.5, 3 years. And man, it has been an avalanche of information.
Oh, has it? I bet. Well, you have interviewed some really interesting people, very, very awesome people. Actually, a lot of boots on the ground researchers that a couple of them I've been in the field with before, like Harley Owens. I saw him on your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, but you do your own research, right? You go out and investigate and
yeah, without a doubt. This is also a personal journey. I mean, how I got started is I'm an auto worker here in Detroit, Michigan. I work for Ford Motor Company. I do the grind, the grease monkey stuff. But on the side, as a hobby, I was an actor here in Detroit, in the Detroit metropolitan area. Whenever Hollywood would come to town, I had the pleasure of being on the sets. I met guys like Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, John Hamm, David Harbour from Stranger Things. So whenever Hollywood comes to town, I'm usually on set doing something, whether it's being a supporting actor in the background or setting up lights and sounds, whatever. So
Oh,
that had brought me closer to the acting community and independent filmmaking as well. And at the time, we were filming another TV pilot series we had called Pizza Monster. And it was just a paranormal fun show, and we wanted to be more family orientated. And I got on the set of that show, and I met some eyewitnesses. And there was a guy by the name of Aaron Young, and he had a Bigfoot sighting here in Gladwin, Michigan. And that was the moment where the light bulb went off in my head. And I'm like, holy crap, these things are real. Because prior to that, I had just seen, like everybody else in the 70s, the Patterson-Gimlin film On in Search of with Leonard Nimoy. And then, you had the Bigfoot on $6 Million Man. That was my favorite show growing up. And then so along the way, you'd hear about a Bigfoot sighting here and there. But it was always just folklore and fantasy and something that was way off in the distance. Well, when this guy Aaron Young had given his encounter, about that same time, we had the Cass River sighting up here. About the same time, my father had passed away, and I kind of moved into his state to take over the house, and I was fixing it up and just trying to get everything in order. And it just seemed like all these things just started to line up. And then I just had the idea, all right, I'm going to get all my friends together, and we're going to do a TV pilot series here in Michigan. And my goal is never to separate people or cause division between the Bigfoot community, but really just kind of bring everybody together and give everybody a voice, because some people have been researching this stuff for 30 years. So I'm kind of the new guy, but I still want to respect those people.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I love it. You got respect is a big thing around these parts, and I love that. And just the fact that I'm not going to say this all kind of like fell into your lap, kind of like that's what happened to me. It's like I just kind of stumbled upon all this stuff, and I was interested in it, and it sparked a little flame inside of me, right?
Yeah.
And it made me just kind of go all in at some point, into the Bigfoot world, and that kind of happens. And so have you had experiences with Bigfoot at all, or like any kind of paranormal stuff like growing up? I know you were probably really interested in the paranormal world and the supernatural. Is that kind of how you got your foot in the door? And what kind of experiences do you have growing up?
Yeah, well, like so many other people, I had all the ghost encounters. I mean, how crazy do you want to get on this show?
We like super creepy.
All right, well, let's get creepy, because here's where people, when you start telling people these certain things, they start calling you liars. And this is the stigma that I don't allow stigma in my life. I'm not into that. So if I'm going to say something, more than likely it's going to be true. Growing up, I had all the ghost and encounters with what I
Uh-oh. Hey, Bryan. I was wondering if that was just my audio. Hey, Bryan, can you hear me? I think we've lost audio, you guys. We have lost audio. Okay. Can't hear him. Lost audio. Hey, Bryan, we've lost your audio. Uh-oh. We have lost video and audio, you guys. I thought it was just me. I started to panic a little bit there. Let's see. Let's see if we can get Bryan back there, y'all. I'm sorry. It's just a small little glitch. This is called a glitch in the matrix for a reason. Okay. And let's see. Hold on. Oh, we can't hear Bryan. Okay, hold on, Brian. Hey, we can't hear you. Let's see. Can't unmute your guest. Their mic isn't muted. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Sorry, y'all. It's muted. I think it's muted on your end. Yeah, it's on your end. It's just no. Let's see. Here we go. I can hear you.
All right, you got me now.
There we go. You're back. Oh
Cool.
yeah. We just lost your audio. Right around the time you started talking after I asked your question about how creepy it was going to get. So I'm sorry. We couldn't hear you. I thought it was on my end, but it was on your end.
No problem.
Okay.
Your bud's acting up.
Okay. I get it. No, this is called a glitch in the matrix, and we always get glitchy on Wednesdays. For sure. It's usually on my end.
All right.
Okay.
Rewinding, I basically was involved in the music industry before I was an actor here in Michigan. And I had Aretha Franklin's engineer was my engineer.
Oh, wow.
My producer was a guy by the name of Tom Washington out of Chicago. He was the producer for Earth, Wind, and Fire. He did songs like Sousa Studio between Philip Bailey and Phil Collins. So I was starting to make my way up the music industry chain here in Detroit, Michigan. And I was about to sign a record deal. I was going to be the first artist off of a new record label sponsored by RCA. I was writing a song for Bobby Brown at the time. I had submitted a song from Billy Ray Cyrus. He had come out with Achy Breaky Heart back in the day, and I'd written a song for him. So things were evolving. So I'm laying on my couch, and I'm about to pass out. I'm in that state between awake and sleeping. Now, this is where it gets crazy. It's what I would call a vision. And in my living room, a door opens up. Like a literal door slides open, and there's flames coming out, and in walks this figure. Its hair is on fire, and it walks over to me, and it lays an envelope on my chest. My hands are like this, and it kisses me on the forehead. Okay. At that moment, a bright light comes in from over here. So it's like I'm watching two things at once. I'm watching this figure kiss me, put an envelope on my chest, and then this bright light comes in very strong and scares this figure, and this figure runs out and back into that portal door and disappears. And I'm still in the vision. I open up the envelope, I open it up, and it's a record deal, what I've been working so hard to get. And then I realize it's the cliche deal with the devil.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
Right. So I come out of the vision at that moment when I realized, holy crap, no, I'm not signing a deal with the devil. And I hit my knees and I prayed. And this is just my Christian beliefs. I'm like, all right, God, whatever I think I know is evidently not correct. So if you don't want me to walk down this path, then you take it away from me. So within 2 weeks after that, the people in New York had called me and said, hey, RCA pulled out its money. We got to get back on our feet here with the production company here in New York. We'll give you a buzz when we get back on our feet. I'm like, no problem. I took it as a sign from God. I started going to church nonstop. And then that really was a pivotal moment that changed my life. But the supernatural stuff didn't really end. Long story short, years later, I moved to Port Huron, Michigan. I start getting visits by these dark entities. I moved from one location to another location, and this black cloaked figure keeps following me to different locations. Whoa. Then I have two sons, and one of my sons says, hey, Dad, comes up to me. So this is years. Comes up to me and says, hey, Dad, I've seen a dark figure in the driveway. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And my son even drew a picture of this dark figure. So I did not like that at all. I went around the house, anointing the doorposts and everything with olive oil and just praying, doing anything I knew how to do and looking up ways and just praying to God, you know, hey, get rid of these things. Well, that kind of stuff ended. All right.
Okay.
And then here and there, you know, you have the dreams like everybody else does. Well, years later, when my father passes away, I move into this house here. And it's about the same time, you know, we're starting to do the other TV pilot series. I'm involved in all this acting. And I move into my dad's house and I'm fixing it up. You know, it's pretty decrepit. We've let it go. Dad was had dementia, and you know, kind of took years. And so after he passes, my sister and my brother are like, well, you can take over his house, do what you want with it. So I'm fixing it up. So this particular day, I'm laying on my bed. Now, I'm not asleep. Where the other incident, you know, you could say I was in that land in between. This time, Jessica, I'm fully awake. I just got done working on the house, probably going to work, whatever. I'm laying there and I'm thinking of all the things I have to do on my house, right?
Okay.
I hear a voice. My eyes are closed and I hear a voice say, I've heard of you. And I'm like, what was that? I'm thinking my eyes are still closed. I'm like, that's a female. Is somebody in my house? Now, the house had been sitting for a couple of years and we think we had a couple of break-ins. So I'm like, you know, how your mind works really fast. I'm like, oh, maybe somebody's in the house, whatever. I'm going to open my eyes and see who it is standing in the doorway just over to my left. I open my eyes, Jessica, to see a fairy, what I would call a fairy, about the size of my hand, hovering over my face.
Whoa.
And I always do this every podcast I'm on. And it's looking at me like this.
Ooh. Oh
And,
my.
yeah. And so it's checking me out. It said, I've heard of you. It's looking at me intently. And then out of my mouth comes, you know, I can see you, right? And she, because it was definitely feminine and it was a she goes, and flies across the room, lickety split, and into what I call the junction box, you know, where you plug your DVD player in, your VCR, your cable,
Yeah.
that goes to the TV. She flew right into that with a pop in sparks.
Whoa.
And I'm laying there. You know, now I got to be honest. I'm a father of two boys.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is fairies is not on my radar. I don't sit around watching Peter Pan thinking of Belle. I just don't. And so the one thing that could have awakened me to the idea that there are other creatures in this world, one thing you could have done, it happened, a fairy. And
Wow.
so, you know, I don't think I told anybody for a little while because I'm processing all this. And then we get into the TV pilot series, and then I start meeting people from across Michigan with all sorts of different kinds of stories, from Dogman to Bigfoot, pterodactyls. And it's been one heck of a journey. And yeah, there's so much information where I thought, and I kind of hoped, we should be able to get one season, maybe 2 seasons out of it. No, I'm booked for 3 seasons right now. We had signed a contract for 4 for our pitch company out of LA. And just for the fun of it, we're doing 5. So,
oh my gosh.
yeah. And then I started the podcast because there's so much information coming in and so many people, I can't get to them all. And everything, you know, everything nowadays costs money. So every time you're going out to locations, I prefer to go to locations. I prefer to do the TV pilot series, but to sustain all of that, I had to start the Bigfoots of America podcast. And here we are.
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you did. And that is, oh gosh, I have so many questions right now. Okay, because this is fantastic. It's not often that I get to talk to people who have actually had a fairy right in their face before, which is really cool. And I kind of joke around sometimes about, you know, I never, ever will run out of topics for my show, ever. Because not only do I have people to interview about their experiences, I've got my own experiences, and there's something paranormal happening around us all the time. Encrypted sightings every day. So I super understand that and appreciate that. Maureen, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate you so much, to you and Gus. Okay, you mentioned before we get back to the ferry, you mentioned that you have a TV pilot in a series. Well, tell me about that right quick. Like, what is your TV show?
Yeah, it's called the Bigfoots of Michigan TV pilot series, and you can see it on the YouTube channel, Bigfoots of America. And what it is we're putting together a concept idea for a TV show, and then, of course, trying to sell it to the networks. It could be a show where I'm the host, or like, for instance, Rob Lowe likes Bigfoot. So for the concept show, they could have Rob Lowe as the host. It's anything where you can, switch out the figures. It's just a product that I'm trying to sell. But of course, I've fallen in love with this whole thing. And so we started that, 2.5 years ago. And man, I could talk all day. I expected to have to really do a bunch of cold calls and put out notices on the internet. Hey, we're filming a TV pilot series. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter, please come out. No, the phone started lighting up. Messenger started lighting up. And it really kicked off with our first episode out of season 1 with a guy by the name of Jim Ingram. I had done one of my first videos is I had gone to the Cass River sighting location. Now, I gotta give a little disclaimer, and this is gonna upset some people. If you want to believe that the Cass River sighting is real, you go right ahead. Okay. For me, I do not believe it's real because of the information that I have received from behind the scenes, from local residents. They pointed to me who the hoaxer was. When the hoaxer contacted me, I confronted him and he admitted it. Now, I've been lambasted by a few people. Well, that doesn't mean it's fake, and show me the costume and all that kind of stuff. Look, I don't have time to get into all of that. I know how it transpired. More than one person came forward. There were 4 separate individuals who told me, hey, that was a hoax. It was hoaxed by this person, and here's what happened. We all know about it. And then I said, well, how do you know? And the one person said, well, he's dating my daughter. That's how I know. So we talk about it all the time. With that said, the kayaker who took the video is totally legit. He totally believes he got something real. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm not here to distinguish hoax or anything like that. You want to believe it's real and not hoax, and other people just want to take the credit for it, like that guy with the Patterson Gimlin film who said he had a suit. You go right ahead. My evidence was pretty substantial and confirming for me. Because I'm also not here to lie. We have enough hoaxers out there and liars out there that we want to keep this thing legit. So anyways, I'd gone to the Cass River sighting location. All that transpired. I put that out on YouTube. And then a guy by the name of Jim Ingram got a hold of me and said, hey, look, I know you're out there looking. I got a spot for you. So we go to the location, and this is the beginning, Jessica, of what I call the Bigfoot Triangle here in the thumb of Michigan. Okay.
Oh, well, I was going to ask you about the Michigan Triangle. Okay. And we've actually covered this. I know it's over one of the lakes there. Okay. Yeah. But I have covered this on my show. I had my friend Riley here from Midwest Mythos podcast came on. We talked about his wife jumped on with us one day because they live in Michigan. They live right at the edge of Michigan right there. But she had a Dogman encounter in her car with her child in the back seat in a car seat, their newborn. And she came on and talked about that. And we got into the conversation about the Michigan Triangle. Man, y'all got a lot of anomalies and enigmas over there.
Yeah, and I think that's legit. We've got I've got 2 pterodactyl sightings confirmed by 3 separate Dogman sightings, just Bigfoot sightings. I was just there, as a matter of fact, on the coast of Lake Michigan this past Saturday. I'm out at least once a month, and now we're out almost every weekend filming the TV pilot series. So, and then you've got the Lake Michigan Mothman encounters. So yeah, I believe that whole area, whether it has to do with ley lines or whatever, I believe that area is legit as well.
The Lake Michigan Mothman. Okay, I didn't know that they had a Mothman sighting up there.
Yeah,
maybe I did. I don't remember. Wow.
Yeah, you know what? And I learned about that, me being here in Michigan. I actually learned about that on the NCI show. But yeah, look at it. Punch in the Lake Michigan Mothman, and it'll come up. I don't have the information right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, here it is. Lake Michigan Mothman refers to a series of reported sightings of a winged humanoid creature around Lake Michigan and the Great Lakes region in Michigan right around 2017. Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really cool. Mothman sightings are all over the place. There's all sorts. Even at Chernobyl, they had the black bird of Chernobyl right before. I guess it was right before the explosion happened, and they had a sighting there. It is a what is it? I was going to say a harbinger of doom, right? Or something like that.
And or here's my take on it, because I've got something on video at my house that I don't show many people. I showed the guys at NCI, and it's hard to tell, so I don't show it publicly. But it's really weird because I was at the Mothman Museum when it happened, and then it's at my house when I'm down at the Mothman Museum. Interesting coincidence, and it falls in line with a string of events that have happened here at my house. And I'm going to tell you right now, I always bring this up, and you probably heard me say it before, but here's my belief, and it has to do with the quote from the Mothman Prophecies movie with Richard Gere. There's a quote in that movie, and it says, "You noticed them, and they noticed that you noticed them." And it's almost like once you get into this paranormal world, they are aware, all these creatures, beings, entities, elementals, whatever you want to call them, it's almost like you get on their radar, and many, in my case, come to check you out. I think the fairy knew about this. Is the crazy talk. Then we start talking about
it's not that crazy. Not for my channel. Uh-oh. Can't hear you. Audio went out again. Okay. We'll get the audio back up, guys. One moment. No, I can't hear you. It's going to come back, y'all. Okay. We are going to have Bryan Sawyer back here in just a minute. And I see the comments, y'all. We're going to talk about that fairy some more. As soon as we get the audio back up, we will definitely hear about that fairy more. And I saw a question. Somebody was asking what color the fairy was and things like that. Let's see.
Yeah, am I back on?
Yes, you're back. And he's back.
I don't know what's going on in my end. I have to double check. It might be my ear pods going.
It's all good. I always have technical stuff happening on Wednesdays, especially on Wednesdays.
Okay.
Yes, it's all
Interesting. Interesting. I would label the fairy as a grayish green color. Okay. And it was feminine, but yet it had a human type alien face. Okay. I hate to say alien because to me it's a separate type entity or being. But yeah, so a grayish green, but very feminine, the voice, the eyes, everything. Yeah, no aggression at all in it. It had just come to, like it said, check me out. So.
Oh man. Yeah. My goodness. So like almost alien like. So like big eyes, like an alien almond shaped eyes, maybe like a alien shaped face. And so it didn't look like Tinkerbell. It wasn't like beautiful and
no.
No.
Yeah, the wings were at that time silent. I didn't hear any buzzing or anything. The main focus was just on the face. So the body was in the background.
Oh man.
Yeah, okay. But I could see the wings fluttering though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They say that the fae are, can be tricksters. They can either help you or harm you. Okay.
Interesting.
Either help or harm. Yeah. So, and I find it interesting that it went towards a power source to kind of portal out of, dare I say portal? Okay, because it went to like that box where all your devices were kind of, I don't say jumbled up right there, but like in a spot right there where there's all that energy,
Yeah.
and that would be a perfect place for them to portal in and out of.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Without a doubt. So
Yeah.
there's something there. I mean, at least I don't fully understand. But with that said, man, I'm just saying, hey, these things are real. If you want to stick your head in the sand and say that Bigfoot doesn't exist, Dogman doesn't exist, these other type of entities, insectoids, reptilians don't exist, you're sticking your head in the sand. And for me, it's like at the least, just like I tell my boys, my oldest one laughs at me still. But I just say,
Good.
I just want you boys to know. I don't want you being shocked and having you the rest of your life being ruined by one of these things because, it shocked you so much.
Oh yeah. Well, if your family's anything like mine, there's passed down experiences, and by that I mean, like my great grandmother and my great aunt had a possible ET abduction one night, in their car, but they called it, angels taking them out of harm's way and things like that. We've had fireballs that came out of the woods and passed around inside the house of my dying great 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 grandmother. Things like that. My dad's seen ghosts. My entire family's seen ghosts. And have had a lot of strange, weird experiences, and it's just kind of been passed down throughout the generations, I think. So
Yeah.
that's great. You're giving them the heads up a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. And then I wonder like both of my grandparents were half Cherokee Indian.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, is that part of it as well? Because I do believe there's a stronger connection with our Native American friends.
Hmm. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. We have another question too. Firehorse is asking, did the fairy have clothes on? Did it have limbs like
No.
arms and legs? What was the body type?
Yeah,
No clothes?
no clothes whatsoever. It did have, I know, there were two arms, okay? And I'm just not sure if there were two legs or more than two legs, but I know there were
Hmm.
two arms and a face. We were deadlocked with our eyes, um, black eyes. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Firehorse says, I had a brownie in my house once. I think a brownie, is that like a little elf or a troll or something?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
little people, man.
Oh yeah. Well, we just had Trebles Garcia on the show about a week ago, and he talked about his elf encounter in his house, and this was actually like a little elf about. I mean, it was tiny. I'm gonna talk about like 3 or 4 inches tall, and it was jumping on his laundry and across the on his dresser and things like that, and his family had seen them in the past, like his mother, I believe, had an encounter and told him not to talk about it. She said, "Don't talk about it."
Wow.
Because like you said, when you see it, it sees you seeing it.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
And that's why I think like when I talk about us going to these hotspot hubs all over the southeast where we do our Bigfoot and cryptid field research, it's not always just the land. Okay, like the land has a lot of interesting cryptid stuff going on there, but I always say it's the people that go
Oh
there.
yeah.
It's the people. It's not just the land. Some of us just carry some kind of weird frequency that is attracted to these cryptids, or maybe we can just see them better. I don't know what it is, Brian. I'm not
I
sure.
to- well, I totally agree. Well, let's talk about that fairy for a second again. What did it say? I've heard about you. And then when I said, I can see you, right? It was
Yeah.
shocked that I could see it.
Wow.
So it thought it was invisible, or it was like you said, who knows if they're playing some kind of game, but it looked shocked to me when I
Yeah.
vocalized, hey, I can see you, right? So
Oh my God. Shocker. Yeah. It's like, I can't believe you can see. You can see me? Um,
uh-huh.
I don't know. That just reminds me of some kind of movie. Like, remember, what is that? I See Dead People.
Oh
That
yeah,
movie.
Sixth
That's
Sense.
that's actually a great movie too. And to not give away the ending, but Bruce Willis, he didn't know that he was dead. Okay.
Right,
I'm just
right.
saying. He didn't know he was
But
dead or whatever. So
But Hollywood, let's talk about Hollywood only for a
yeah.
second, but it's very simple. They have been feeding us through Hollywood, the CIA or the government, deep state, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it, all these conspiracies, they have feeding these been feeding this information to Hollywood, and Hollywood filters it out through the movies, whether it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. For me, that was a pivotal one. And
Oh
and,
yeah.
and then yeah, even Bigfoot and $6 Million Man, they are aware that these things exist, and they try to help by filtering it out, and that helps desensitize us. And to me, I think that's a good thing because you're not as freaked out when you see these things.
Oh yeah. Well, there's also it's almost like they create the narrative too. Like they put us in the direction of like where they want us to look and what to believe and all that kind of stuff. And so, um, people are always asking me too, like, do you think our government is ever going to disclose any of these cryptids, the Dogman and the Bigfoot? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, they do it through our movies, our
Yeah.
TV shows. They do it, but really, if you want some real true disclosure about these cryptids, you go to places like your channel, Bigfoots of America. You come to the Cryptid Huntress channel, and we bring on real, just average, everyday people that are having these incredible encounters out there, and that's where you're going to get the full disclosure.
Yeah, and
To
that's what I
this.
think is the most important is we're just you and I just got we're just facilitators. No,
Yes.
the people who have the eyewitness encounters are the important people. They're the ones putting this data on the map. They're the ones bringing what used to be the butt of the joke, the old joke, "Hey, I saw Bigfoot. Oh yeah, where is he now?" No.
Yeah.
They're bringing in the fact that there are way more. I think there were two lies, Jessica. First
Right.
is that Bigfoot didn't exist. All right. Whoever propagated that lie, I don't know. But then the second one was type of a cover up. Well, if there is one, if they do exist, there's one out west somewhere, and they're very few and far between. Oh man, not what I'm learning here in Michigan. You go to any high flowing body of river or body of water and rivers where there are fish, you might find yourself a whole clan.
Oh man, that's what I've learned over the years. I've been out doing boots on the ground research since around 2011, and the Bigfoots like to move through the rivers and the creeks and things like that. And it's probably dogmen as well. We
Oh
get a lot
yeah.
of encounters near bodies of water. And actually, on one of the last trips that I took up to East Tennessee, I was out there with actually with Harley, who was on your show at
He's
some point.
awesome.
Yeah, he took us up to one of his spots with one of my teams. Shout out to CW Ops and Survival Crew. We were up there, and I guess Saturday night there was an encounter with a couple of Bigfoots that came out of the creek. They were basically walking. It was almost like their highway out there, like their
Oh
little
yeah.
back road.
Yeah, I call them the river walkers here in Michigan because they're either walking down old railroad tracks here in Michigan or they're walking up the rivers, and they love the fish. As soon as spring broke here, I mean, you've heard about the recent Monroe Monster sighting, which correlates to the 1965. Well, that whole area has to do with Lake Erie, the River Raisin. Well, at the same time, Nora Scott up here in Gladwin is having a sighting. Right down the street from me in another town called Crosswell, somebody else is having another sighting. So as soon as it warmed up and they're able to get to the fish, that's where they are.
Okay, what is the Monroe sighting? I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that.
Okay, yeah. For you, those of you not living here in Michigan,
Yeah.
back in 1965, there was a famous Bigfoot sighting called the Monroe Monster. Now, it propagated maybe up to 12 to 15 different sightings, but I believe some of those could have been hoax. People showed up in costumes, other people showed up in guns to kill it. But basically, Mrs. George Owens and her daughter, Christine Van Ecker, were driving down a road, saw this creature, I think right around 700 pounds. And whether they hit it or it hit the car, they had contact. And this thing
Right.
reached in, grabbed Christine Van Ecker, shook her up. She thought it
Oh,
punched her. She ended up having a black eye, passing out. But she remembers when it grabbed her and shook her that she could feel its hair. And the hair of this Bigfoot was very quilly. And so that happened in the town of Monroe Monster. And then there were other sightings right around the same time, police reports, it kind of exploded, right?
Mhm.
Well, then it died down. That was 1965. It's died down. There have been other sightings in that general area, but on May 18th, I believe May 18th, a father and a son were bow fishing on Plum Creek, which is right by the River Raisin, which is right by the initial 1965 sightings. And they were bow fishing with a bow and arrow along Plum Creek, which also amazingly runs through this neighborhood, so close to urban areas and people. And these things move in the dark and you don't even know they're there. But anyways, this guy and his son are bow fishing. And when this guy sets his bow and arrow down on a tree stump or like a tree that's kind of parallel to the ground, out of a tree about 10 feet up jumps down a Bigfoot. And this thing lands between the guy's son and him. And it starts heading towards the man. And fortunately, I don't know if it was an aggression or whatever, but fortunately the family dog was there and went after it, and then this thing took off, and they said it ran so fast you couldn't even see the legs. Well, it ran up over the railroad tracks and then kind of disappeared into the other side. Yeah, it was just a location where the fish were. The guy had been fishing there with they're so prevalent you can shoot them with a bow and arrow, and so I think
Wow.
that. Yeah, I think that Sasquatch, which is about 6 or 7 feet tall, dark brown, blackish, was there to do some fishing itself. And this guy and his son showed up at the same time. And yeah, a little bit of havoc happened. So that was just a recent sighting.
Oh, wow.
BFRO, yeah, all that.
Okay. So he did the Scooby Doo. That's what I call it. It sounds like something out of a cartoon, like where he ran so fast you couldn't even see his legs, like
Yeah, yeah.
scrambled. Like that's
Yep,
wild.
and grunting. Yep, said it was
Yeah.
so fast, but they could see the big butt cheeks and everything, and they're like, it was not a bear. These two are sold out. It was not a bear. But yeah, so it connects the dot again to that area down in Monroe, Michigan. Yeah, and all the marshes there, and there's other sightings there going back to the war 1812 too. So it's quite
Oh,
amazing. Yep.
wow. That is I'm still pretty impressed that people were fishing with bows and arrows too.
Oh, yeah, well,
What the heck?
I went to the location, saw the creek. I wasn't at the exact location, but I was just a little bit farther down on the creek where it goes through the neighborhood. And it's a very slow moving, but deep enough, 3, 4 foot creek, and it houses fish. And it's an easy spot. It would be the type of spot where you could shoot them with a bow and arrow, you
Oh
know?
my gosh. I can definitely appreciate that. For sure. Michigan is also known for your dogmen. Okay,
That's
dogmen
right.
sightings, and they go all the way back. Let's see. I guess I could kind of present the screen right here. We can look at this because we'll just pull up a website about the Michigan dogman real quick,
Cool.
because this is fascinating to me. Okay, why do you suppose there might be so many dogmen in Michigan?
Um, I always put together the biological and scientific side of these creatures. It's definitely because of the water sources and really our population here in Michigan is not that much. I mean, only 1/4 of the population is in the UP, and most of the population is down around Detroit. So you get farther up in the state, farther north, and it's very desolate up there with forest and the woods and yeah, deep woods, all of that. It's jungle like.
Oh man, that's what my buddy Flat Rock was telling us about. I asked him, I said, "Why are there so many Bigfoots in Alabama?" And he was like, "Well, it's known as the Amazon of the South," is what he said. It's like a jungle down there, and I can't disagree with that. Lots of good places to hide and a lot of resources, so as far as the food goes and things like
Yeah.
that. Now this website that I have pulled up, this is all that's interesting.com. I thought this was a really cool article about the Michigan Dogman. It says a terrifying cryptid with the head of a dog, the body of a man, and a bone-chilling scream. The Michigan Dogman is said to prowl the forests of northern Michigan. And let's see. They say that this thing shows up every 10 years, Brian. On years, the end in the number 7. Okay, that's a little odd, right? I think that these things show up every day. Probably
Hmm.
there's so many people that have dogman sightings up there, but this is the original, I guess. Lots of ads here. Sorry, y'all. Uh, the Michigan Dogman. I actually, okay, this right here is interesting too. The Gable film. I'm going to show a clip of this to the audience today. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is a still shot from the Gable film from 2007. What do you know about this?
All right, I personally think that's a fake. I believe I've seen the whole video, and it's a guy in a ghillie suit, and that's just me. All right. If you look very closely, it does
Oh,
look like a guy who
yes.
became very apt to being on all fours, and they did a joke, but that's just me.
Okay. Well, let's look at it real quick because some of the audience may not have seen it. Let me share my screen and show the actual video right quick because
All
that's
right,
I
sorry
thought
to
it was
shut
a
you down.
bear. I literally thought it was a bear, Bryan.
Okay.
Okay, and I still think it might be a bear or it's a guy in a ghillie suit. So let's see. It takes me a second. I'm slow. I'm like an old lady over here trying to figure out how my
You're
computer
good.
works sometimes.
You're
Okay,
good.
here's this. Let's play this right quick. Okay, now this is from the artist. I don't know. I just found this on YouTube. So this is the film right here. People haven't seen this. I want to know what the audience thinks about this because if that's a man, Bryan, he's doing a great job of running on all fours, and that's scary.
He actually is doing a great job.
Especially going down a hill like that.
Yeah.
That looks like a chunky dog man. If that's a dog man, that's a chunky one. And if that's a man, that's a chunky one too. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't know how a man that big could move that well. Well, tell me what you think and what you know.
Yeah, I think I saw the whole video, and I hate to shut you down, but like I said, I try
Well,
to
you're
be
not shutting me
truthful.
down. I want
All
to
right,
know the truth.
yeah, I'm pretty sure if I'm correct because I did kind of investigate that one time and saw the whole video, which is now off the internet. I believe it's a guy in a ghillie suit, and they kind of set it up. It was just kind of a fun thing they were doing, and that's just me. I could be totally wrong.
Yes. See, I don't know. When I see that video, that's not it 100% to me it looks like a bear. If anything, it's a bear. Okay? But it's been known as it's in Michigan and it's called the Gable film. And I don't know. It's hard to tromp through the woods. It's even harder to do it on all fours if you're a human, I think.
Oh, sure.
So yeah, I think it could definitely possibly listen. I don't put anything past anybody, Bryan. There have been some pretty massive hoax videos and setups and things before. So there's no telling.
Yeah. But
yeah.
a recent real dogman sighting.
Yes.
And here's what's strange about the quote I said before is that you noticed them and they noticed that you noticed them.
Exactly.
So about the same time when I'm having all my weird encounters with Bigfoot, the mind speak, all that kind of stuff, I start going to a church, talking with the pastor, because he was a member of a church I used to go to. Well, in Cairo, Michigan. It's 2025. So I got to look at my notes. It's either October, November of 2023. So just a year and a half ago. So it's probably October because the guy's still cutting the lawn. All right. A church patron is cutting the lawn of the church. He's doing his lines, paying attention. And this is a 18-year-old, 20-year-old. He looks up and there's a dog man standing, glaring at him, growling at him in the church parking lot. Now, I've been to the location. You got the parking lot and then all the grass or the lawn. And I can see how it happened. What's amazing to me about that is right down the street, even though this was in the middle of Cairo, Michigan, almost in the middle of town, right down the street, there is something called Indian Fields. And it's an old burial ground where an Indian war happened that they have now turned into a park. And in that park, multiple sightings. Aaron Spencer, my Chippewa Indian friend, has educated me on that area. Multiple Sasquatch sightings. Yeah, just a whole plague of paranormal activity. I believe that it's a portal sighting. Now, I believe everything I've been learning that they can summon up portals. Certain individual paranormal beings can, and they can do it wherever they want to. But I believe they portal in and out of certain places because they know that it's protected by the government. It's a state park. It's a burial ground where that can't be disturbed. They aren't going to portal in 10 years from now, and there's going to be a subdivision there, and they're going to portal into somebody's living room. So I think that's
Yeah.
why sometimes they're consistent with where they portal in and out at.
Oh yeah. Well, and here's another little tidbit of info. I talked about this when we talk about, for instance, the Dogman that was digging up the grave in Ohio. The Area 51 has mentioned. Thank you, Juan. I think I mentioned this when I met you the other night.
I
was talking
checked
about
it out. Yeah,
the grave digging Dogman. I sent you a whole bunch of like videos and stuff.
Yes, thank you.
That. And our friend Colleen Norris is a Bigfoot field researcher and investigator, Dogman investigator out of Ohio. And she came on the show, and boy, let me tell you, that's one of the most interesting potential Dogman videos. I think it's a Dogman. I think it's a real Dogman, and it's sitting there digging into a cemetery, into an empty burial plot where they put cremains. Okay, and she actually knew the person who was buried beside it because that was her friend, and then that was his wife's plot, but she was still alive, so it was just an empty plot. So they're just kind of weird, right? It's like, why would a Dogman be out there digging up graves? But see, there's like a concentration of Dogmen in that area. They get seen out there quite often. And the cemetery crew acted like it was just kind of normal that something had come and dug up a grave there when Colleen went and asked them about it. And so it was just kind of weird. It's like, what are they doing digging up graves in a cemetery or just empty burial plots?
Yeah, I wonder. Oh, so on a physical, biological aspect, I wonder if because of the disturbed ground, there were more bugs. From all my studies, it seems like these creatures are always hungry and almost always thirsty. So they're constantly looking for food to keep those big bodies going, to have that source of protein. Or it could be something spiritual. Who knows? If you said before, Dogmen are always showing up in cemeteries, that is creepy.
Okay, well, I've been told by my good friend, William Nighthawk, who's in the chat quite often over here on the channel. He's a good friend of mine. He is a Lakota medicine man. Okay, awesome. And I have consulted with him before I've gone on investigations, like to the Skinwalker Cave in Tennessee that I did, to get some background and from the Native American medicine man side of things, and I've asked him, like, why are Dogmen seen near cemetery so much and Indian burial mounds? And he says that it's because the land has been cursed or blessed, whatever you want to call it, either blessed or cursed by medicine men and medicine women at some point, and that is to protect that land at all costs.
Wow.
And so that's why they go to places like cemeteries. And here's another thing, Brian, is like, we don't know the true history of all the land here in the United States. You had just mentioned Cairo, Michigan. Cairo is an Egyptian town, right?
Cairo. Yeah, it's Cairo. Caro, but similar.
Oh, I thought it was Cairo. Okay. Yeah, I'm Southern. Nope. I'm sorry. I got a Southern accent. I hear Cairo.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Well, anyways, we do have a lot of ancient Egyptian named towns, especially down here in the South. We do. So we have a lot of maybe potentially ancient Egyptian, history here, especially down in the South. So, Brian, are you there? Your screen has blacked out. Hello. We're having little glitchy moments today, you guys. It happens, like I said, it happens on Wednesdays. More often than not, it seems like. But Brian, if you're there, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Your screen is black.
Yeah, Jessica, man. All right, am I back?
There you go. You're back.
I have never, in all the podcasts, my podcast shows, NCI, I have never had the amount of trouble I'm having on your show. This is creepy, man.
It's wild. I know. Well, it happens when the energy's high. That's what it is. We're just bringing all that good energy to the people today, and it's having some glitchy moments, and that's fine. Hey, we're still here. We're still going. It's not going to stop us. Okay.
Yep. Back on. So you were saying, So yes, about the land, what happened before we showed up on this land? That's the spooky stuff.
Exactly. We really don't know the true history and what could have been summoned there. I stand by this. I do believe that things have, cryptids have been summoned to some of these areas. And yes, I do believe also that they are able to access Earth's natural portals. I believe that we do have portals all over the place. And we talk about, on your website, you had a quote about, let's bring it up to the question of, are Bigfoot's interdimensional? I saw that on
Yeah.
there. And I thought, man, that's cool, because when I first went public, after 10 years of boots on the ground research, I finally spoke publicly about it. And I came out kind of guns blazing, telling people, I believe that there's an X factor to Bigfoot, and they could
Hmm.
be interdimensional, or they could
Yep.
just be accessing portals, and they're just,
That's right.
disappearing into portals.
Yeah, I think I'm looking it up right now so I can get it right. But yeah, it's the question, does Bigfoot exist, is so very outdated. The questions now are, how many different kinds of Sasquatch are there, and what are their different levels of intelligent and physical capabilities? Are all Sasquatch interdimensional? Yeah,
Hmm.
without a doubt,
Yeah.
we're learning so much. I think it's everywhere because I'm trying to be open-minded. Since my fairy encounter, I'm trying that, as a Christian, I have the Nephilim narrative, but then I don't necessarily disregard the Gigantopithecus narrative. I believe there could be like canines or felines. Um, there could be everything in between, just all different sorts of types of things.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what? There's an interesting encounter that I had the other night, and it was driving home from Alabama, being out with a whole big group of Bigfooters out there, and I live in Georgia, so it was only like a little over an hour to get home. So I drove home that night. It was hot. I didn't feel like camping out, and so I drove home, and it was like after midnight, and I was driving down this really scary little road out in Talladega, Alabama, and and I got to the main road, and I ended up like passing these creatures on the side of the road. And when you say like, I don't even know what these things were. Okay, but I think they could have been dogmen. Knowing the area now, and talking to one of the gentlemen who lives out there, he said, that's his friend owns that property right there, and they have not only booger sightings as he calls them, but they also have dogman sightings as well out there. And what I think I saw were probably two dogmen, but they were unlike anything I had ever seen in my entire life. And they didn't fit that chart, the Dogman chart. Like the North American Dogman Project has like some charts, and you can find them online of like 6 or 7 different types of dogman. This didn't look like any of them really, except for maybe like the hyena type of dogman.
Okay.
They're like African dogs. They look like panthers. You had mentioned panthers. They look like
Yeah.
a mix between an all black African dog, aka a hyena, with no hair on its face, like a panther, and also the size of a bear. Okay, so they were huge,
Wow.
and all I could see was a black face and like the shoulders, and the white teeth. It like gnashed its teeth at me, but they didn't have like huge canines either. So it was just weird.
Wow.
It was all very odd. I don't know. Maybe it did have canines. I just didn't see them. It was only it was a fleeting, probably 15 seconds of me looking at these things, trying to figure out what they are. And
Oh, I mean, that's
yeah,
fantastic. Because to me, I've heard of Bigfoot with canines and then also teeth like humans. But if
yeah,
we take the subject of insects alone, I think I looked it up one time, and there's anywhere between 900,000 and 3 million different types of insects. So if you
yeah,
throw that into the mix, yeah, there's all different types, man.
yeah.
I just don't
I
want to meet the type that eat you.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I had my doors locked, and I had a pew pew at my side. Okay, so I was ready if I had to do something. But to me, I was just thinking, man, that's just a gigantic dog,
Uh-huh.
or a bear, or wait, it's a panther. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at actually. So it was
Right,
one of those
right.
moments where I was really confused for a long time. I mean, I'm still confused over what I saw that night,
I
because it
love it
was
though.
weird.
I love it because we got to get this information out. It's
Hmm.
time to get our head out of the sand. It's time to start making fun of or stop making fun of people who've had the sightings
all that old stuff has got to change. This has got to
Mhm.
be, this is how we get to the truth, is by not just one or two people, but by so many people collectively getting all the data out there, getting all the information out there, and then just letting know the general public know, because I think the general public still takes this as entertainment. Oh, I'll
Yeah.
go see what the latest Bigfoot sighting is. No, this is even though we have fun doing it, I felt bad. I'm doing a podcast with a guy by the name of Scott Brush last night, and we're laughing and we're joking because our minds were blown at the extent of the reality of this subject. And so it's like, okay, yes, let's have fun with it, but also be serious and respectful of those who have really been scared half to death by some of these things.
Oh yeah. I mean, I agree with, was it Bigfoot Dwarf? I just saw a comment. Let me pull this back up. He said, I think that seems like people are seeing more cryptids than rare wildlife now. I mean, maybe so. I don't know. You know what, Bigfoot Dwarf, you and I are both also having people talking to us about their cryptid encounters too. I get a lot of that as well. And you know what's really interesting, Brian, is like, I talked to my dad, and about what I saw, because he's a complete skeptic, total skeptic when it comes to all this stuff. He thinks it's awesome that I'm, the cryptid huntress, and I go out and I chase Bigfoots around and stuff like that. But he's still always trying to figure out what it is. Like, it's not Bigfoot; it's got to be something else.
Yeah.
And so, of course, when I told him about what I saw in Alabama, he said, "Oh, well, that was an alpha coyote." And you know what? And here's the thing: I have not disclosed this with my audience yet. Okay, so my dad's telling me, "Oh, well, that was just an alpha coyote. They get gigantic, and they have, like, hair around their ears, and they've got." And I said, "Well, Dad, have you seen one?" He said, "Yes." I want to preface this by saying I used to live in this town, this community where he had this sighting. It was one that had been hit by a car, by the way, and I used to live there. And my sister, I can say this now because she hasn't worked there in a long time. She was a 911 dispatcher. And so through her and through my dad, I knew a lot of sheriff's deputies. She was a lead dispatcher, took a lot of calls. If they had like a Bigfoot sighting or anything, I found out about it. Okay. They would let me know. And that, man, it's best people in the world. If you're a Bigfoot or, Dogman researcher, the best people to know are law enforcement sometimes.
Awesome. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because they'll give you the lowdown. If you're friends with them, they'll tell you, when they get sightings and stuff. Well, there was a couple that called in this area where I lived. It was like a mile down the road from where I lived. They hit a dog one night. They thought it was a wolf. And they said they called 911 and they were beside themselves. They said, "Well, we thought we hit a dog with our car, and then it got up and ran off on two legs."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
that would shake, yeah.
Oh yeah, and this town is actually known for the North. Oh, it's the name of the county. It's like the North County Werewolf, and it's only about 10 miles from the Etowah Indian Mounds, by the way. Where there's a lot of dogman sightings. And this is the place where there's a waterfall out there and all sorts of stuff.
Nice.
A park. But anyway, so my dad, this was about, I'm going to say like 20 years ago, 30, it's got to be 30 years ago. I'm getting old now. Okay. So it was like 30 years ago. Cause he told me that when I asked him, why did he not take a picture? He said, well, we didn't have camera phones back then. We had disposable cameras. And I said, well, Dad, why didn't you go to the drugstore and get a disposable camera, Dad? Because what he told me was that, I grew up on a farm, and he was living on the farm, and he had seen this thing that like he called it an alpha coyote. He said it was all black, and it had like a mane. He said it looked like a mane, and it looked like a gigantic dog, an all black dog. It was kind of skinny, but it was huge, muscular, and it had this big, like a lion's mane, but it was all black. And he said that he'd seen this at the farm, and he was like, man, it was like the biggest dog he'd ever seen in his life, but he didn't think much about it. He just thought, man, that is weird, right? Well, he said the next thing he knows, a neighbor down the road called him up, or he ran into him at Poli's. Okay, that's our gas station down the road where they have chicken fingers and tater logs. Okay, but he ran into one of the neighbors. He said, hey, have you seen that dog that somebody hit on the side of the road? You need to go check it out. It's on the road down here. And my dad said that he went, and there was like a whole group of people out of their cars looking at this gigantic human-sized dog that had been hit by a car. And he said that it was the strangest thing that he'd ever seen. I said, well, Dad, did it have human hands? He said, I
Mm.
don't know. He's like, he didn't even think to look. He just said that it was just crazy. I said, well, did you not get a picture? And he was like, well, what? We only had disposable cameras back then, you know.
Yeah.
And but anyways, when he was telling me that story, I said, well, Dad, did it ever cross your mind that that could have been like a werewolf or something? And he looked at me kind of funny, and he was like, and I saw that it clicked. He was like, maybe it could have been. I don't know. And so it's all about perception. It's all about what we already know and what your mindset is. You know what I mean? Because my dad, to this day, when I talk about Dogman, he's like, oh, it's an alpha coyote. All of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Here, I just, like I said, I was just on the coast of Lake Michigan interviewing two eyewitnesses. Well, Susan Moore, Bigfoot eyewitness, also had two dogman encounters, two dogman sighting. And she distinctly said, look, when this happens, the last thing you're thinking of is, hold on, let me grab my camera or my cell phone and get a picture of you. She said, I was, basically so awestruck and taken aback by a 7 foot standing on its hind legs dog man staring at me that I didn't even think. I was just getting back into the camper and then closing the door.
Oh God. It's got to be pretty terrifying for people who, I know what it's like to see things that aren't supposed to exist, but I go out looking for it myself.
Awesome.
And a lot of
yeah.
times it just kind of shows up. Like, I mean, I've had face-to-face encounters with ETs before as well. Okay.
Wow.
So and I'm talking about, they have been within feet of me. And so I've seen things that they don't move like a normal person or an animal and all that. It's just weird stuff. So imagine just like being just a regular everyday person, not out there chasing Bigfoot and Dogman like I do, and just running into something like that. It's got to be just absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I've never had any kind of, I guess the fairy would be the closest, it had an almond shaped head and the alien type eyes. But yeah, I've never had an encounter with UFOs or anything like that. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
man, I can't imagine. And what's the difference? Why haven't I? I've had my Bigfoot encounters, it's like, what's the difference?
Oh yeah. Dan from the UK. What's up, Dan? He says, I lost all my friends because of learning about cryptids. I'm sorry, that's not funny. That's really sad. But you know what? Some people are just not meant to stay in our lives, Dan. Okay, if they're not open-minded and into cryptids. I'm sorry, but it's just
That's right.
Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, I know of a guy who went through a divorce because of it, because he had a sighting, got so wrapped up in it. Yeah, and his significant other did not want to deal with the subject. Thought it was embarrassing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah. It's all fun and games till you go through a divorce and your significant other wants to use it against you. I'm just saying.
That's right.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there.
Ouch. Ouch.
I've been there. So, anyways, I got the receipts. He was there too. Okay, so. Oh my gosh, it's
That's funny.
It is a very it can be a delicate subject with people who are not into Bigfoot and things like that. But that makes the best believers are people that just see one on the side of the road, and that's what happens, especially in Michigan. A lot of the sightings are actually on the side of the road in Michigan, in the cornfields and things like that.
Yeah.
People just driving by. There's actually a guy, I think his name's Joe Barger, I think is his name, and he was driving in Michigan. If I'm not mistaken, this was out of Michigan. Somebody in the audience will know. I don't know him personally, but I've heard his story. And he was driving a truck, and he said that a dog man right up beside his big tractor trailer truck, and I think it grabbed his door handle or something. I'm not exactly sure, but he got his like 45 out or something like that and shot it.
Wow.
As he was driving, I think they said that he was at he was driving a paper truck, or it had like paper in the back. That's what he was hauling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
I wonder if you can find out more information about that. I'd like to know about that, because the Bigfoot here, like my buddy's sighting, a lot of times if the Bigfoot's walking through a cornfield or something and the people you're driving by and see them, they'll just stop, like act like a tree, so to speak. Don't move. Maybe they won't see us. But that's interesting that the dog, oh boy, I'd like to know more about that one.
Oh yeah, my buddy Tony Merkel interviewed him actually on the Confessionals podcast. I can put a link to that down in the. I always forget, y'all. I know I forget. I always say I'm going to put the links down in the comments, and I forget, y'all. You got to remind me. Okay, but just look up Joe Barger. I don't know him, but you can look up the Confessionals too. That's Tony's podcast. And I've been on there a couple times, actually myself. But he was on there, and it's a pretty compelling story because what he talks about, it lines up with a lot of, some other incidents that I have discussed and I have been told about, or I've had firsthand people tell me, or people tell me from firsthand experiences of, he said that he shot this thing, and it was on the side of the road, and then it was almost like a cover up. It was almost like he had eliminated an asset for some kind of program,
Oh,
like
interesting.
some kind of maybe 3-letter agency or military or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was
Yeah.
definitely a cover up, and I think the body was gone when he came back to go look and check on it. I think, but
Super
it's the
soldiers. I
trucker
mean,
guy.
that's my thing. Is the island of Dr. Moreau, so to
That's
speak,
it.
is that real? Are they doing these weird experiments and then
Yes.
releasing them out into the woods? Is that what Dogman is?
Absolutely, they are. I do believe that 100%. There's actually, I have covered this before, and this is a whole new rabbit hole to go down, kind of. But there are people that have been fatally attacked by unspecified canines, is what they call it,
Mm.
or packs of wild dogs. So if you're doing any research on dogman attacks and things like that, just look up unspecified canine attacks, where they don't know exactly what kind of animal it was. They say it was some kind of a dog, but they're not sure what kind of dog it was, or unspecified animal attacks as well. But thank you, Christine. Christine says Joe Barger happened in the Manistee Forest.
Oh
That's
my
right.
gosh, yeah. Dogman Central, man. That's where
Is it?
Susan Moore had her two encounters. The one climbed up on her camper. She saw it, and
Really?
then later that night it climbed up on her camper, sniffed through the vents, and she found the big paw prints, everywhere around. So yeah, man, that's the central location for Dogman. That's
Oh
like their
man.
stronghold, from my understanding.
Okay, well, it sounds like a good trip, future trip
Mm-hmm.
for CW Ops and Survival. We will put that on the list. Okay,
Awesome. Let me
I'm
know.
heading up
I'd
there.
love to join you. That would be
We'll
great.
bring you along with us. Heck yeah, we need a tour guide of Michigan up there anyway. So we'll definitely get in
Fantastic.
touch with you. That'd be fun. Okay, Moondog Davis says they removed it and told him it was an asset. That's right, the dog man with the Joe Barger case. Uh,
Wow.
I didn't know they told him it was an asset, but I believe it was some sort of an asset. And I think I do recall that now. Actually, the power of suggestion. It either sparks a memory, or I don't know. But that's really wild. I mean, a whole area of a state park or national park that's full of dogmen.
Oh
Getting
yeah.
back to the idea of dogmen being assets and actually being a part of some kind of government program potentially. There's an article. It's actually a video. I can send you the video. I had a friend ask me a while back to send it to him, but it's like Israeli news, and the guy is reporting on dogmen, but it's not actually like full out dogmen. It's like some kind of super soldier program where
Yeah.
a person had gone before Congress to ask for a funding change
Mm.
for a super soldier program that the military had been working on, and they needed the money to close out the program and eliminate the assets that had gotten out of control. And this was actually on the news, in the news, and they were asking for I don't know how many millions of dollars, but they said that the program had been going on for decades. They had been combining special forces human soldiers with some kind of I don't know if it was like CRISPR technology or some kind of DNA combinations of like lions and wolves and bears, and they were putting them all over the world in pairs, like female male pairs, and two of those got dropped off in East Tennessee, and that's not too far, somewhere around there where like those two people, like Tony Miller Amber Miller and Tony Aarons, were found mauled to death by unspecified canines, a pack of wild
Oh.
dogs over
Mm.
there, and so yeah, it's a interesting little rabbit hole to go down there if you want to look
Yeah,
into that.
I mean, one of the things, and I can't remember what the time frame is, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. The basic saying was that whatever we see here now, the government had 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh
So
yeah,
yeah, it doesn't get
yeah,
revealed, or we don't really realize or know about it until 30 years later,
yeah,
So they could be working on all the super soldier projects, getting digging up Gilgamesh, the Kandahar giant, if they've getting any of that DNA, any of the genetics, and they're making these super soldiers, my goodness.
yeah. Well, we find out when they need to eliminate the assets because they have gone through at least 2 or 3 generations of these things, and now they can't track them anymore, and the assets have gotten out of control because their children and grandchildren are wreaking havoc on the general population. And here's another thing too. And this is all for entertainment purposes only, y'all. Okay. But here's another thing. A lot of the research that I do would be in national parks and state parks, and that's where there's a high concentration of things like Bigfoots and Dogmen out there too, which I believe that our government is in full knowledge of these things out there. And who's to say they are not part of some kind of program? And that's just where they kind of have them out. They let them get out and feed on humans occasionally. And that's where some of these missing people are going out of our national parks.
Wow.
I mean, who knows?
Yep. I can just say there are way more of these creatures than we ever imagined. So be aware, be careful when you're out in the woods. Always try to go with somebody.
Oh yeah, do the buddy system for sure, because you
Yeah.
don't know what's lurking around. And if you're going to walk into a portal and disappear, it's never a good thing, right? Never. Oh my gosh. And we've got Andy Decodes up in here. What's up, Andy? He says, look at all the stuff we kind of knew about. Imagine the technology and organic creations we don't know about. And that's true. I mean, pretty much if we can even imagine it, they've probably tried to create it.
Yep. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Animal human hybrids and things. I mean.
Yep. My one, I've got an eyewitness, Matthew Sexton. He believes he walked into a portal. Fortunately, he was able to get back out. He walked in, got real sick, and just kind of looked down in the dew at his footprints and backed out of there. He ended up in some place he'd never seen before. He's in an area where he's been for 20 years. He's totally familiar with all of his surroundings. And then all of a sudden, there's like this blurry type stuff going on, and he goes into it, and he's in some swamp somewhere he's never seen before, and then backs out of it. So there's an eyewitness for you, whether you want to believe it or not.
Oh man, I don't think I've ever told you this, but I know the audience knows. My team is kind of known for having a video of a portal showing up in one of our research areas, and 2 men being sent over to check it out, and their heat signatures disappeared. And
No.
yeah, they've both passed away now. Actually, they both got really sick. Yeah.
And that's my concern. Is there any kind of radiation?
100%. Yes, there is radiation. We take radiation. We carry our Geiger meters out there, and we take baseline readings before, in the morning, and all throughout the day. And absolutely, there was definitely a radiation spike over there where that happened. And both of them got very sick, but they also both described it as when they got over to it, they were guided over to it because you could only see this thing through a thermal or a FLIR. And so they got over to it and they disappeared. And they said that the temperature changed, the vegetation on the ground changed, the stars disappeared. It was just like an energy shift. And so they knew to kind of like back out of it. They were both military veterans and trained in remote viewing, by the way. And so they backed out of it, and their heat signatures reappeared. Wow. They backed out of it. Yeah. But they didn't get sick right there on, off the bat. But one of them got like this really intense, aggressive form of cancer that came back, that he had been in remission for years. And then Tim actually had a heart attack or heart failure or something out of the blue. He was really young. It was just very, very tragic. But see, like, that's what we're dealing with out there with some of these, with a lot of this research that we're out there doing, investigations. We don't know what all's out there. And like a lot of times, anytime there's any kind of paranormal event that happens, we get a little radiation spike every time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time.
Yep. I've heard of a story here in Michigan. It goes back many years. Native American tribe had a clan of Bigfoots come by their village, and when this clan of Bigfoots came through, the vegetation died around the path that the Bigfoots took. And so the
What?
Native American tribe, oh yeah, the Native American tribe got all the men together and followed this Bigfoot clan. And the Bigfoot clan led them down. I'm making this quicker than it is, but to a place called Harson's Island. The Bigfoot swam across to Harson's Island. Okay. And while the Native American men were getting, rafts together to get over there to war with the Bigfoot, when the Native Americans got there to Harson's Island, they disappeared. The Bigfoots were gone. The Native American women and children said the Bigfoot showed back up at the original location by the Native American village. So
What?
did they come out of a portal? Were carrying the radiation, and that's what killed the vegetation. And then when the men of the tribe followed them down to Harson's Island, the Bigfoot's exit strategy was portaling back. And so, yeah, so I've heard accounts of, hey, keep your distance from Sasquatch. They may be radioactive. And that would make sense. If they're coming through portals, the ones that can, they might be carrying radiation, and it might, I don't know if it's an all the time thing or if it wears off or what, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Man, there's definitely some kind of other frequency that they're on, I think. And we
Yeah.
I've discussed this with some friends before. It's like, well, if you're not on some kind of frequency, potentially, maybe it's a lot more harmful for you than, someone that's on a different frequency, or I don't know how it works. We're still trying to figure it out. And the more that we learn and the more we experience, the less we know. Okay.
Yep, we're learning for sure.
Yeah, but we're learning, and it's through sharing our experiences with other researchers and people who take investigative reports and things like that. That's how we're figuring some of this stuff out and sharing our stories, and the audience too. We've got a wonderful chat today. Gosh, we got some wonderful comments, and this is actually a good one too. Mike says a booger can drag you off into a portal. Man, isn't that a scary thought, Brian?
Yeah, no,
just
thank
grab
you.
you and take you through a portal.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's not something that I do have to worry about that. And as a matter of fact, we had to come up with, like, our team came up with a protocol for the next time we encounter a portal out in the field. And it did involve the guys asking who has the best life insurance. Okay, who has the best health insurance? And I will never volunteer to go into a portal with a rope tied around my waist ever. Okay,
No,
I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I if I see, I prefer to keep my distance. Yeah, I would like to see some of this stuff, in person. But yeah, I'll keep my distance. I want to live.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, you have had a really interesting fairy experience yourself, and I want to go back a little bit. I know this was like at the beginning of the show, but you talked about maybe the deal, like we talked about the deal with the devil, right? The deal with the devil. I forgot, what is that called? There's like a name, there's a phrase for that. I can't remember, but you came to the crossroads basically in the ethereal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where, so me as a person, just an individual, and your audience has to decide for themselves what they want to believe. All of these entities, creatures, beings, whatever you want to label them as, your audience and every person out there has to decide for themselves what they want to believe these things are. Well, because of my Christian faith and that initial encounter, so-called deal with the devil, when I got into the Bigfoot subject, I'm like, okay, what are these things? I've got to reconcile this with my Christianity. And this is just me, folks, being a Christian and trying to reconcile this, because at first I'm like, there's no Bigfoots in the Bible. Well, au contraire, my friends. The scripture I want to pull up is Luke 21:11. Okay. Rick Renner is the first guy I've heard point this out. He's a pastor out there on YouTube, and he's very apt and learned in the ancient writings and interpretations, like the old Greek original manuscripts or the Septuagint interpretation of the Bible from the original Hebrew and Aramaic. And in Luke 21:11, It says in the last days, you'll see earthquakes and pestilences and plagues and all of that. But in it, he says, you will also, this is Jesus talking, you will also see fearful sights and things basically coming from the heavens, so to speak. Well, those fearful sights, what we would read in our modern day American Bible, is actually in the original Greek is the word phobotron. So phobotron is the original word for fearful sights, and phobotron actually means monsters. Okay, so hold
Okay.
on to that. And then it goes on to say, and things coming down from the heavens, which is apo, meaning something that will descend from the sky, and then also Oranos, which means heaven. Okay, so things coming from the sky. So for me as a person, I interpret that. Yeah, and in the last days, you'll also see monsters and UFOs. That these will be some of the signs of the last days. So, and that goes back to the Genesis 6 conspiracy, connecting it as to why the flood of Noah happened when God wiped them out. The whole idea that no, it wasn't that Noah was just a nice man. It's that no, he was the only one left and his part of his family that were genetically pure, that everything else had been corrupted. The giants had taken over the land, were feeding on humans, and all these. See, I believe that the fallen angels didn't just get it on with earthly women. I believe the book of Enoch describes that they also got it on with all sorts of living creatures. So if
Yeah.
they're getting it on with bears, maybe they're spawning some kind of Bigfoot. If they're getting it on with any type of animals, then we have all these other types of creatures. And so that's how me as a person, I reconcile some of this. I'm like, well, there it is. That could be some of it. But then you throw in the government experiences. Yeah, okay, it could be Gigantopithecus. But everybody out there, you choose what you want to believe. This is just me kind of formulating a process in my brain where I can understand all of this.
Oh yeah, and we all know our government likes to play God, right?
Hmm.
And the government's people in control. It's a control thing, right? And
Yeah.
we've had lots of scientists. Let's just say, what does my friend Bryce call them? The schmotzies, the schmotzies, the schmotzy scientists. I've covered the what is it the Billy Whack monster. Okay, if you're familiar with the Billy Whack
Ooh,
dairy and the
I
Billy
am
Whack
not.
monster out of Southern California. There was a scientist. He wasn't an actual German. He wasn't German. I think he was Swiss. He might have been from Switzerland, maybe. But he came over here back in the 1920s. I think, what is that? The OSS? Is that what they were called before it was the CIA? He worked for them as a scientist, and he ran under the cover of running a dairy with a prize bull or some kind of dairy cow. I think it was a bull. The Billy Whack bull. He won awards for. But he had this wonderful cover of having a dairy, and underneath the dairy, he had an underground facility laboratory in the 1920s where they worked on animal human hybrid experiments. And to this day, there are goatmen
Oh my
seen
goodness.
all around there. The Billy Whack monster is a goat man.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
that's why I think now, I had been getting and like I'll pull these up right now. Because of all of this, my mind has been exploding. I'm revisiting fairy tales like Jack and the Beanstalk, Fee Fi Fo Fum, I Smell the Blood of an Englishman, Giants. I've been revisiting. I found out that Tolkien here, a lot of his inspiration comes from Beowulf. I saw an old rendering of the Grendel creature in the story of Beowulf, and it's like a Bigfoot type creature. And then you've got Gilgamesh. I've been checking about this, where these things are, two-thirds God, one part human. So yeah, what is going on? There is something where they're able to manipulate genetics and DNA, and now we're just now catching up. I mean, look at this. Look at this. I get so excited about this. Me
Me
being an
too.
actor, small time actor, mind you, I've been going through this horror cinema book with, The Mummy, The Werewolf Man, my favorite creature from the Black Lagoon. So, what if all these creatures might be real or based on some reality? Going back to Greek mythology, the satyrs, the minotaurs, the cyclopses. So, yeah, we have so much information out there, and that's what makes it so fun. That's the fun side of it. For me, I got to stay grounded as well. I've got to go to work. I've got to provide a safe place for my boys to lay their head. I've got to be a family man, a productive member of society. But then I got to keep this. I love it so much. I keep it off to the side, like my favorite TV show I watch a few times a week, and then go back to normal reality and function as a normal human being. I don't want to go down the crazy
Normal.
train
Just kidding.
route either and get consumed with it. Yeah, but I still want to deal with the truth of it.
Oh yeah. Well, we all have a thirst for knowledge, and I love how open of a mind you have. You have a wonderful open mind about all this, and just a thirst for knowledge, just like I do. And so I appreciate it, and I have really enjoyed talking to you today, Bryan. This has been a really fun show, and
Awesome.
and I know if I make it up to that forest up there, okay, up in Michigan, which we probably will. Listen, I've put it on the list. We're always trying to come up with great spots that have a lot of dogman activity and stuff. I'm going to put that on the list, and we'll bring you out with us. Okay.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
That would be so fun. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And can you please tell the audience where they can find you, any kind of projects you're working on, any kind of, anything you want to promote today? Tell the audience about it.
Yeah, check us out on go to YouTube, punch in Bigfoots of America /Michigan. Our podcast show will pop up. Our seasons 1, season 2 of the Bigfoots of Michigan TV pilot series will pop up for you. And it's just about collecting data, bringing this community together, and getting the information out there. And you can also reach us at bigfootsofmichigan.com. If you want to reach me personally, go to Bigfoots with an S, Bigfoots of Michigan @gmail.com or Bigfoots of America @gmail.com, and you'll get a hold of me directly.
Okay. What is Bigfoots of Michigan? BOM. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
see all your merch back there.
Oh, yeah. I've got a whole studio here. So there it is,
Bomb.
bigfootsofmichigan.com. And you just put that in, Bigfoots of Michigan @gmail.com, and you can get a hold of me. Yeah, so it's just the acronym BOMB. Love it.
I love it. You the bomb. You the bomb, Bryan. You are.
That's why on the NCI show, they were calling me Bomb, and then they switched it to Boom Boom for my nickname.
Boom Boom. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Can you get some of that merch on your website? Because I bet there's some people that would love to have some merch.
Yes, you can. And if you have any trouble, the website should be up and running. I've heard before there's trouble with merchandise. Just contact me directly. We'll get you out some merchandise.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, my moderators have been putting your links in the chat the whole show. And so y'all please go over to Bigfoots of America /Michigan, actually, too, over on YouTube, and Bigfoots of Michigan. You say Bigfoots like me, like the plural is Bigfoots, not big feet. That's me too.
And that's a personal joke with myself, because I'm like, what am I going to call the show? That one day I'm sitting around thinking of what to call the show. And I'm like, and there's so many of them. Okay. And then I thought, okay, well, there's lion singular and then lions plural. And then I just kind of giggled and said, I'm going to go with Bigfoots,
It just sounds better. It sounds right, doesn't it? I always say Bigfoots. And when I saw that, I was like, man, he gets it. You get it, Bryan. You do get it. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for sharing your stories with us, and just for sharing your time with us today. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Please come back and hang out with me.
For sure. It's been wonderful and been nice to meet you.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much. Ditto. And thank you to all the audience today. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for the super sticker today. Who is that? Oh, it was Maureen. Thank you so much, Maureen. And you guys, please be safe out there. Come back and see me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I will be here live with a remote viewing show for you guys. So thank y'all so much for all the support. And we will see you guys back here tomorrow night. Thanks, Bryan. All right. Bye, y'all.